Hello everybody, RoboPros Webkit. So guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to go from cold and dark to ready to fly basically in the PMDG 737. This works on all variants, not just the 800 that I am using here. So let's go ahead and get started into it. Alrighty, so first things first, you're going to come up with a cold and dark state 737. So our first thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to turn on that battery there. And then after that, we have to go into our thing here, go into FS Actions, hit that ground services. I usually like to use the external pit power, but that's up to you what you want to do. So you're going to go ahead and hit request on our ground power here, so that way we can get that going, and stuff like that, and it should be connecting here momentarily, so let's let that keep going. Alrighty, so our ground power has been connected now. We're going to go ahead and go up into our ground power here. We're going to go ahead and click on that, and everything will come alive, just like that. Our next thing that we want to do is what I like to do is I like to turn on my window heats and turn on the probe heats as well. Next thing you want to do is set your two packs to auto and the isolation valve as well set to auto. Your next thing you want to do is up here, you want to go ahead and arm your emergency exit lights, turn on your logos, and make sure you as well hit nav on your IRSs. So our next thing now is setting up the flight plan. So I'm gonna go and grab my SimBrief flight plan, and then we'll get this going. Alrighty, so I got my SimBrief flight plan. I'm gonna do a separate video on how to use SimBrief in more detail later on. But let's go ahead and go into our flight plan page. So just hit that menu right here. You'll go back to FMC, go into your position in it, and hit that next page. Grab that GPS left, and you're going to want to go ahead and put that into there. Now I have it on instant align, but in your case, it may be different for you. So make sure that you guys check that in the settings. I'm not going to go into the settings on the PMDG just because I want to get things going for you guys. Next thing we want to do is we want to hit hit that route thing. We want to go ahead and put in our departure airport, which in this case we're at Dallas Love Field, and we're going to go ahead and put in our arrival, which is going to be Houston Hobby. And I like to put in my call sign, which is going to be Southwest 1711 today. You can load it. Now, I'm not going to show you guys how to do that just because I like just so that way we can do it manually so that you guys can see it. So our next thing is our departure and arrival. According to my flight plan that I have set, we're going to go ahead and hit our departure here. According to my flight plan that I have set up, we are taking the Curlew 5 departure. We're going to be taking the Elver transition, and you cannot find it in that first page, just hit the next page there. And there's our Elver transition right there. Next thing we need to do is select our runway. In this case, we have runway 13 left, so we're going to go ahead and hit that. Going to go into route. Hit our RTE again just to make sure. Now as you can see, Curlew 5, Elver to Elver, it's right there. Next thing, since this is a short flight, we do not need to add other airways. Now if you were adding airways, for instance, you would have the airway right here, and the exit point would go here as well. So we don't have to worry about that. We won't worry about it. The next thing we need to do is we need to go into our arrival. We are taking the kids for arrival with the runway 22. So this does matter in the 7.3 just because of the way that 7.3 is. you are going to need to know your runway. So our runway that we are taking is runway 22. So it's the kids floor, runway 22. We are taking the kneel transition, and then we would go in for runway 22, which is a localizer, but you know, that's okay. You're gonna hit root, hit activate, hit execute, and then go into your legs page after that. And you want to make sure that you don't have any discos. Now this is actually different if you're flying on the network. If you're flying on the network, what I always tell people is if you have a vector like this, do not get rid of it, because that means that you're going to receive ATC vectors. Now, since that we are not flying on the network, I'm going to go ahead and just click on that waypoint and then move it up. It's as simple as that to get rid of the discos. Alrighty, so next thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and load up our fuel. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit your menu button right here. You're gonna go to FS Actions and you're gonna hit that fuel button. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put the block fuel that SimBrief gives you, which is 13, which for our case is 13,398. You're gonna put that into there just like that. Your next thing that you want to do is now we want to go ahead and put in our performance numbers. So your cost index you can get from SimBrief. Reserves, I usually like to put 5 in there. Double click on that zero fuel weight. It'll grab your zero fuel weight and your gross weight, and it'll give you your flight level and stuff that you can go to. Now, since that we are, from what our SimBrief says, going to 330, it's not really going to matter much, stuff like that. Next thing you want to do, it says unable, it's going to say unable cruise out, that'll be fine. Next thing that you want to do is you want to go ahead and get your N1 limit. Here, I usually like to do TO1 and climb 1 and CLB 1. This just makes it so much easier on, it's a derated takeoff. Next thing you want to do is double click on your CG. I always like to do flaps 5 and click on these, and it'll give you your V speeds. So essentially now your FMC is now fully programmed, so that's all done. Let's go ahead and get on to the next step. Alrighty, our next step is that we want to go ahead and turn on our fuel pumps. So first things first, what I like to look at is I like to look at how much fuel do I have in my tanks, and do I need to put my standard pumps on. In this case, I don't need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn these ones on just like that, and they will say low pressure first, and after that they will extinguish. Your next thing that you want to do is go ahead and do your flight controls up here, these two switches. These will say low pressure, but that's fine until we actually start up the engines. Next thing, if you have a HUD, you can click on it to get rid of it, and make sure that your yaw damper is on as well. Our next thing that we want to go ahead and do now is we want to go ahead and start up the APU. At first, it's gonna little notch right there. You will see a thing that says low oil pressure here in a minute. That is completely fine. That is completely normal. And then after that, it'll start up. So let me go ahead and we'll let that start up, and then we'll continue. Okay, so now that the APU has now started up, we're gonna go ahead and click these. So these will go on Gen. Then we'll turn on our APU bleed just like that. And then our anti-collision light goes on like that. Now we are ready to go ahead and go into our menu, FS Actions. First things first is what I'm going to do is make sure you guys set that parking brake. I totally forgot to do that initially. You're going to want to go ahead and go into your ground services, release that ground power, and we can go to remove those shocks as well. And we'll go ahead and get our pushback. So I have GSX, but I don't like using GSX, especially for the 7.3, especially on the network. If you have a built-in pushback system in any aircraft that you fly, by all means, utilize that, because that's going to be your best friend in all of this. So we're gonna go into pushback. We're gonna go ahead and hit it for a standard L. And we want our nose to the left. And we'll hit select tug. And it'll give us the TPX 200.
Cockpit to ground.
And we hit start. So let's let them hook up. And then after that, I will show you guys how to start up the engines. One more thing I forgot to mention is do not forget to turn on your flight directors as well. I totally forgot to do that. The other thing as well is you want to go into your pressurization and set your altitude. And since that we are not climbing on VATSIM, I'm just going to go ahead and put this to 330. I forgot to do that as well. I do apologize. But don't forget to do those. Alright, so now we're pushing back, looking like we are pushing back now. So let's go ahead and start up the engines. So to start up the engines, turn these packs to off. And then after that, click on that to ground. And then we're going to allow for that to spool up. We're going to wait for 25%, and then we will we will flip a little lever. So let's wait for that 25%. 25%, and we'll go ahead and introduce that fuel now. And that fuel is going to be introduced, and as you can hear, the thing is spooling. Okay, so we hear that click, so, and it wants us to start this, so,
Brake set.
So the next, it's basically the same thing for the next engine, just hit it to ground, wait for that 25%, introduce that fuel, and you should be good.
Alright, steering pin is just...
Okay, so now that we got 2 good engine starts, what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to go ahead and turn these packs on, turn your APU bleed off, go into your gens, click those, click the outermost ones to on, and then we'll go ahead and get rid of the APU. So, and now our next thing that we need to do is, obviously, we will do our flight control checks real quick.